Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, my friends. I hope that wherever it is you reside on this beautiful earth, that you had a decent end to your Valentine's Day week. A week fraught with violence and anger if you live in the United States. And with that being said, I thought we all could use a little positivity boost. So, I've decided to start a new segment. I know, it's a little early in my career to start making new segments, but I'm gonna make what I wanna make, okay? Introducing Underrated Albums! Where I go back in time a little bit to reflect on some albums that I thought were criminally underrated or criminally under-listened to at the time of their release. So without further ado, let's talk some music. Owl City, aka singer, songwriter, multi-instrumentalist Adam Young, is an electronica project out of Minnesota. He's been one of the most popular and influential electropop producers of his generation, borrowing heavily from the likes of the Postal Service, but generally not really as introspective or as sad. He also made his name prominent among the Christian sect as being, for a long time, the most successful and most financially successful openly Christian artist in the mainstream, up until 21 Pilots beat him out with their massive record, Blurry Face. One. Growing up in a Christian family, in a Christian school, in a Christian theater company, Owl City popped up on my radar pretty early on. This record, Ocean Eyes, was the first record that I ever owned on CD. It was a Christmas gift from my Aunt Julie. Shout out Aunt Julie for watching from Australia, I love you. And even back then, knowing very little about music, and except for whether or not I thought it sounded good, I could tell that this was something special. It had infectious rhythms with these gorgeously produced, glistening soundscapes that transported me to, I don't know, winter by a campfire. It was obvious to me even at that age that this album was special, and it was created with a lot of care. It's got this unique sense of innocence and genuineness that you don't really find in a whole lot of other music. Not to mention, it's got one of my favorite tracks and one of the greatest memes of all time, it's Fireflies. God, I love this song! Not even ironically either, I genuinely adore Fireflies. And as I got older, I would go back to this album every once in a while and give it a listen and be like, oh yeah, this was really good. And now it's part of my weekly rotation. I have it downloaded on Spotify pretty much at all times. But it seems like much of the critic base disagrees with me, with Ocean Eyes having a painfully low 53 out of 100 on Metacritic. But why? Why? Well, the only things that I can find from reviewers are, 1, he's like the Postal Service, but not as good. Yeah, okay, but they're really different, but sure. 2, the lyrics are sugary sweet. And that's it. And what's wrong with that? What's wrong with painting a picture that's positive, and in unique ways nevertheless, rather than to be sad and dreary like much of the other music that exploded after, post OK Computer Kid A. And this is why Ocean Eyes is so special. Its take on happiness and joy, and even sadness, loneliness, and love are all refreshing, and it has this really genuine sense of innocence. And that, of course, there are more than a few lines that are a little bit cringeworthy on this thing, or that don't make any sense. All my islands have sunk in the deep, so I can hardly relax or even oversleep. Buddy, what does that mean? And pretty much all of dental care is just one really long, bad dentist pun. But Adam Young knows this. This was intentional. It's supposed to be silly. It's supposed to make you giggle and go, oh my god, really? That's the joke you made? Golf and alcohol don't mix, and that's why I don't drink and drive. Come on, that's genius. Ocean Eyes is chock full of energy, star-crossed lyrics, and a genuine sense of joy and positivity. When was the last time you heard a song about a relationship that wasn't sad, or about the struggles, or about cheating or something? Ocean Eyes is a reminder that there are a lot of really great things about being in a relationship. And isn't that the point? Isn't that why you go into a relationship in the first place? To be happy with another person? So then why not make music about it? And that's exactly what he does here. The album is lyrically and sonically, you're too slow! Varied, from the guitar-led The Bird and the Worm, and the massive and expansive and emotionally charged Meteor Shower. You're taken on a journey with this record, and it just sends you into space then brings you back down for a nice warm fire and a look at the northern lights. All of the songs fit within this very distinct, consistent, yet varied aesthetic or color palette. It just screams various blues and purples and whites that all just kind of swirl together and are immediately reminiscent of winter. And above everything, I've mentioned it before, but Ocean Eyes is just happy. In a world where sad, dreary, and controversial artists get all the attention and are the typical groundbreakers, Owl City stood out in 2008 for creating a record that isn't what we would normally consider as groundbreaking, but just in a different way. Giving those who just love to be happy and listen to music that's emotionally rewarding and enjoyable gave them something to take pride in. And it's not trying to be anything other than honest to goodness electric pop. And it does it so well. I feel like a lot of people try to corner Owl City into being this postal service successor that he just didn't want to be. And I mean, it makes sense. They created a landmark supergroup and a landmark electronic album, and people want to see someone return to that and make it their own. But Adam Young wanted none of that. He recognized and openly appreciated his inspirations, but he moved to create a legacy of his own. And while after Ocean Eyes he kind of struggled to make the same impact as he did, he stuck to his guns. And you can't fault him for that. Ocean Eyes is one of my all-time favorite records, and I would heavily encourage you to give it a listen if you haven't. Give your music listening skills a little bit of a different change of pace than what you're probably normally listening to, or things that you think are traditionally groundbreakers. Look for the gold inside of something that you might not have listened to otherwise. Ocean Eyes is for sure an underrated album out of 10.